Boom. All right. Welcome. I've been unmuted by the maestro over next door to me here. If you are brand new to the live stream, my name is Dan Inman. I'm a local real estate agent, or as it says in my bio, the best damn real estate agent in coastal Virginia, self-proclaimed 6 years in a row. Voted by one, myself, and two, my mom. So there you go.
Even year one?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's Mr. Sean from across the way there. As every night that we do our live stream, welcome. We ask where you're coming from. We have people that watch these, especially from YouTube, from all across the world. Oh, we got some serious reverb there. That's right. But we got some, we had Sarah, who was out at our client event that we met. She is from Australia. Which was kind of cool. We've had some folks come from the Czech Republic. We've had people come from Germany. It's really been kind of neat to see a plethora of people coming from all over the place. So let us know where you're coming from. We'd love to hear, even if it's in the States. If you're looking at relocating to the area, all information is down there in the bio, so you can schedule time with us to talk about what that relocation might look like. If you're looking at renting, to be honest, we can do a little bit. Cali, love it, man. San Diego, LA, where at in Cali? I'm curious. So one of the things that we like to do here is we like to support local as much as we possibly can. We just had our largest client appreciation event of the year, which is kind of our picnic. We're probably going to move into the fall because the weather in Virginia, if you're not familiar with this place, is hot and humid during the summer. But we had a few leftover coastal cocktails. So for our local libations, do I need to wipe that off, Sean? Is that why that's a little, or is it just because my face is there? Oh, no, it's pretty clear. So we've got the Coastal Cocktails Vodka Orange Crush. This is about as good as it gets to pre-mix. They're delicious. They're 7.5%. They're made with real vodka, and it's made by Tarnished Truth, which is a local distillery. They make their own vodka. They make some rum. They make gin. Do they make rum? I know they make gin and vodka and bourbon. And their bourbon is absolutely delightful. So that's what we're doing tonight. Sean, cheers. My good friend. Thank you for joining me this evening. Pro tip, if you have the opportunity, just putting like a few orange slices in there really sets it over the top. So
Josh from Palm Springs, that's what
from Palm Springs, man.
Moving here in a couple months.
Nice, man. Well, if you're looking at renting, we can give you some basic directions. Unfortunately, like here in New York, the help can only go so far. I did help. Funny enough, Sean, did I tell you about the guy that called me from Saudi Arabia that I helped find a rental? No. Yeah, it was really quite fascinating. I get this phone call from a guy. Was it too close? All right, cool. So I get this phone call from Saudi Arabia, and I'm thinking, this can't be real. This is fake. I'm some Nigerian prince or something is going to happen. And the guy's like, hey, we're looking for help. And he reaches out like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, okay, usually people that are pulling scams aren't like this aggressive. So, and then he sends me like his visas, and he sends me his acceptance letter to William and Mary, and his wife's going to be going to ODU. And so I call the admittance offices and say, hey, do you have this person coming in? They're like, yeah. I'm like, this is legit. So they ended up doing a rental. They're going to be here in probably about 30 days, and they want to meet me in person. But it's funny how YouTube has kind of brought the world to a much smaller, it just kind of makes the world a lot smaller. So it's been really cool. Tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit about just some of the beaches. If you're not from the area, just like any other area, you're kind of trying to figure out where's this, where is that, what's the nicest areas, what are the areas you kind of want to steer away from, where are the best public schools, where are the best private schools, and then if you're coming here for like vacation or even looking for a place to hey, where do I go? If I'm going to be local, which beaches do I want to go to? Are there hidden ones? Are there ones that are more popular? Are there ones that are more touristy oriented? And so we're going to cover some of that tonight. And then at the very end, if you are considering making a purchase, here probably, I would say in the next 6 months or so, we're going to go over a little bit about what's going on in the market here so you can kind of get prepared mentally for what that looks like. Are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market? How much so? Because buyers and sellers market isn't, it's not just on or off. It's how much so into each one of those. It's like, say, a dial from 0 to 10, and you're dialing it up all the way to a seller's market. You're dialing it way down to extreme buyer's market. And we'll go over that here in just a minute. So Sean's going to put up, I guess, some B-roll. So, we do a decent amount of shooting out in town. We have a bunch of videos. Actually, some of our best performing videos are our drone tours. And it's really just to show off the area. Like our East Beach one probably gets 3, 4, 5 views a day. Our Oceanfront one gets probably about 10 views a day. Our Sandbridge, I think drone tour has done easily the best. What do we get, like 7,000 views or something like that there? It's quite a bit. But that's, people want to see and kind of get to know the area as much as humanly possible. And so what we've actually found is 30% of our business last year came from YouTube. People who are relocating or moving in the area and are using us to help them relocate and find a home. A couple of families this last year that didn't even see the house until they got here and moved. They bought, did the home inspection, went through the entire process, closed on the home without seeing it, and they trusted us to help them through that process. So, B-Rad G from Malibu, my brother coming in. See, well, maybe I have 3 people that are telling me that I'm the best. My brother's coming in. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So what we found is that some of these videos people really appreciate because it gives them a sense of what the area is like before they even move here. So I'm going to pull up. Should I share my screen, Sean, or do you want to? Okay, let me just make it super easy here. Let me pull open this right here. Yeah. Typically I have 2 screens up, but right now my desktop is not wanting to connect. So I'm going to try to do this like this. We're going to go window and here and share. Cool. Can you see that, Sean?
You can.
All right. So right now we're zoomed in on Norfolk here. If you're not totally familiar with the area, one of the other names for our area is called the 7 Cities. That's Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Suffolk, Hampton, Newport News, Portsmouth, and that's it. You can go out here to Smithfield and up here to Williamsburg. It really does encompass all of this. Unfortunately, if you're brand new to this area, we don't have any major sports teams. We're hoping that changes over time because we do have a lot of cool developments coming up, including a surf park that's going to be down at the Oceanfront, which is super freaking cool. But we're gonna say I'm gonna say top 5 beaches. We're just gonna kind of go over some of the beaches. What you've got here is, if we zoom out even a little bit more, what you can see here, here's the ocean, right? Here's it shows Bermuda way out here. We got the Atlantic Ocean here, and if we zoom in, right, you've got the Virginia Beach oceanfront right here, and then the Chesapeake Bay kind of pours out into this into the ocean, and so you get a lot of brackish water in here, and then also the James River also pours out into the Chesapeake Bay. Now, what you'll find is the majority of the waves, the biggest waves, the biggest amount of erosion, the most amount of wind is going to come here on this east section of Virginia Beach. And this makes up several different sections of beach. Probably one of the most popular sections, also kind of called Outer Banks Light, if you will. And Outer Banks, just for those who don't know, is this section here of North Carolina. But we have this section right here just north of False Cape State Park called Sandbridge. And one of the major benefits of this beach is that there is really not a ton of hotel tourism, right? So there's 2 major condo buildings, one towards the very end, which is a super, super nice place. We have 3 different clients that have bought in there. And then you've got a whole bunch of single family homes. Let's switch it over to this right here. You go. So let me zoom in here a little bit. So here's this condo building I was talking about. You have some public parking here, and it's really not quite that much. And if you can find parking, or let's say you have a friend that lives in here that will allow you to park, what you'll find here is that people that are out here on the beach, really only these 2 dozen homes right here are out here because people are not looking to walk super duper far. And you find it to be, what's up, Sean?
So John was saying that's actually the area he's looking at buying in. It's in Sandbridge.
Yeah, I've got 2 clients that are actively looking in that area.
If you stick around till the end, John, we might maybe pull up some of the whatever's there listing wise. We like to kind of show you what's there.
Yeah, you can also go to our website, inmanhomeservices.com, inmanhomeservices.com, and set yourself up a search there and kind of stay abreast. I typically advise people to look at the real estate in the area for at least 6 months, so you can kind of see what the things at different price points come on and off the market, how quickly they sell. So you can kind of get accustomed to knowing what you're looking for. So when the time does come to pull the trigger, you're a little more acclimated and it's a little less stressful. But one of the, I think this area is just so freaking gorgeous. We did a house, I think it actually might be here on Seascape Road. Yeah, this house right here. We did a house tour on this property right here, 2.2 million.
2.4.
It's on the YouTube channel. We did a tour of this property. This is new construction. We had a really cool opportunity. Audi of Hampton actually lent us a car for the day, so we got to drive this really nice $140,000 sports car for the day to shoot and film that. That was kind of fun. We did also hire a guy to play the voice of Morgan Freeman. I'd give him like a 7.2 out of 10. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't terrible though. What we end up paying that guy, like $100 or something like that, $150. Yeah. It was kind of a fun experiment. We were like, hey, what would be cool? And we used kind of ChatGPT to help write the script and that type of thing. So we kind of toyed. That was kind of a fun one that we were able to pull off. But one of the things you'll find about this beach is, one, you have a lot of beach here. Most people are not super duper concerned with like their beach houses eroding away because you have a lot of beach in this area. Now, is there some flooding on occasion? On a super heavy rain, in some areas where the roads are a little bit low, yeah, if you don't have a 4Runner or a truck or something along those lines, going through there might be a little scary. But most of the locals would tell you, hey, just give it a couple hours, it'll go away, and you don't have to worry about it. And I would definitely say there are more SUVs and trucks down here, but there are plenty of people that come down here in their cars all the time, and you know they deal with it because this is isolation at its finest. Bunch of homes in here. I would say probably about half are owner occupied or their personal vacation homes or someone that's even retired down in this area. And the other half are used as vacation homes and that they rent out year round. And so there's a couple different management companies down here. If you do end up buying and need a recommendation, I can kind of make that introduction for you pretty easily. So as you can see, a bunch of these have pools. Some of them are seaside, some of them are bayside. And this is such a cool area. You'll find a lot of boats out here doing some skiing and tubing and that type of thing. Tons of wildlife out here too, and fishing is absolutely fantastic. Now, one of the downsides I would say of Sandbridge is that the restaurant entertainment offerings can be a little lacking. It's not super duper far from some decent shopping, like over here in like the Red Mill area. And if you, Red Mill area. And then you also have all of the shopping right here around Nemo Parkway that's being developed. And there's plenty of good offerings. Actually, Cava, which is one of my new favorite places to go eat, is right in here. And then you're really not that far away from Hilltop, and you're also not that far away from Virginia Beach Oceanfront. So if you're wanting some more entertainment, but main reason people go to Sandbridge is because it's quiet. It's very isolated. It's quiet. It has a small town feel. I think that over time we will see probably some of those things turn over and more offerings will be entered into, but there really isn't a whole lot of land to develop down there. And so it's probably going to stay small for a very, very long time. Plenty of great food places to go and check out. The other downside to Sandbridge, I showed a house to someone not that long ago at like 2.6 million down there. They were considering buying a property as like their vacation home, then rent it out to kind of park some money into a place, but also have a vacation home. And he kind of asked me, he goes, well, hey, Dan, how's the traffic down here back and forth? Because you really only have one road going in and out of Sandbridge. And so if it does have a problem, it is a huge pain in the butt. And I was joking with the guy on the way down and said, hey, look, in general, I've never really had an issue. And then on our way back, there was a car accident and we sat there for an hour. So, I've lived here for nearly 20 years and I've been down to Sandbridge dozens and dozens of times. And that was the very first time I had run into something that was that like an hour. I've had other moments where it was like 20 minutes, which is just not that bad. But that was the worst I'd had it. So that's Sandbridge. Let's go north here and let's kind of bump into Croton Beach. Now, one of the criticisms of Croton Beach is that the beach, it tends to be kind of thin. You can kind of see it's a little thin here. And it causes some people to be a little anxious or nervous that these are just going to fall into the water. Well, I can tell you that these have been here for a long period of time. They also occasionally dredge, and that's not necessarily ever been an issue. I will say if you have a good arm with a baseball, or if you throw in a Frisbee, you probably could throw it from the top balcony into the water if you were really good at there. One of my attorney friends lives here in this neighborhood. He's been here for a long time, a big time surfer, and he loves this area. The other piece about Croton Beach is, other than the parking, stop. Beep. Is it freezing up? There we go. Other than the parking lot right here, which is open to public parking that has to be paid for, you're really not getting a lot of overflow from the public. They're just not places to park really in here. So if you're not a local, the only place you can really go here is the Croton lot, which they have to pay for. But most of this is just going to service the people directly into the neighborhood. And this is just a lovely, lovely beach. Now, if we go north of that, we've got basically the main strip, and you'll see how thick this is, or how wide.
Buddy, Andre Ford is on here.
Andre, what's up, brother?
He said he was could have used this video a few days ago. He was over there this weekend. So. And
he didn't call me. He said he was going to call me the next time he was in town. I was going to take him up to the Cavalier and get some bourbon. All right. So the main strip here, there are some condos that service this. There's not a lot of places to purchase and live right here along the oceanfront. What you'll find is a ton of people here in Shadow Lawn and in the Vibe District in Old Beach, Beachboro area. They come out here quite often. Sean and I were just in a property not that long ago from here. And then Bashard Homes also owns a few Airbnbs, which we're going to be probably spotlighting here on the channel here sometime soon. I have like 3 or 4 clients that live right here in the Shadow Lawn area. They love this neighborhood. The downside of this neighborhood right by the beach is that you're kind of simming on the flight pattern right here for Oceana. And so every now and then, this is kind of just a loud area. And that's just something you have to deal with. If you want to walk to the beach and have access to like being walking distance to Waterman's and the beach, and when they have their surf competition, this is just the reality of what you got to deal with. Now, the big surf, let's see if I can find it in here. Can you remember what street it's on there, Sean? Yeah, it's right here. So what they're doing is they're developing this huge L section. Yep, and they're going to be building in a surf park, a hotel. I think Chick-fil-A is going in there. So there's some really cool stuff. One of our Tidewater insurance brokers and Hanger Law has their office here. We use them all the time. Some of our affiliates, and that's from his rooftop terrace on his building. He'll be able to see the surf competition, which is super duper cool. But you're gonna get one of the downsides of the Virginia Beach oceanfront. This is just where all the tourists are, right? These are all hotels along here, and if you love kind of the crowds and the nightlife and the wildness, like, sure, this is great. And to be honest, every now and then, Sean, like, we go down as a family because they'll have like street magicians and music going on. And it's fun to go down there on occasion and spend $15 for 1 scoop of ice cream, you know? But you know, my wife used to be a hotel manager down here at the oceanfront. And so I've just been down here quite a bit. Some locals get super irritated by it, but it's just part of the reality. When you're going to have a beach community, you're going to have some tourism, and that's part of it. You go a little bit north and you start hitting into what's called the North End. And I would say that this is the premier area. This is the area that many people aspire to get into. It's probably the most expensive barrier to entry into this neighborhood. And it's going to be really right here where the Cavalier, which is kind of the nicest hotel that we have in the area, from north of the Cavalier all the way up until you've got Fort Story. It's all this section. Kind of similar to Sandbridge. You have a lot of people who have retired in here. A lot of people that this is their sole vacation home and they don't rent it out. Rentals, unlike Sandbridge, so I didn't cover that in Sandbridge. Sandbridge is one of the only areas that is immediately approved for renting. It's been that way for a long period of time. Unless you are grandfathered into the north end, doing weekly or daily rentals is just not an option. And so you'll find is that some people think, well, that would hurt sales because certain people want to buy it. I was like, it just hasn't slowed anything down because people want to be in here so badly.
So John had a question here. He said, what do you think of the Pinnacle, if you've heard of it, on 31st Street? That's where we're planning to rent until we decide to buy.
I believe that's a condo. Is it a condotel? I think that's what it's called. Let me pull it up real quick. Pinnacle Apartments, Virginia Beach. 31st, maybe?
Yeah, 31st.
Well, let's take a look-see here. Sometimes I drive by these things. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what that is. Why is it not wanting to?
Maybe just Google Maps.
Yeah, that might just be. Let's do.
Sorry, everybody's looking at my gorgeous drone footage in the north end. What do you?
That's all right. Yeah. Let's go over here. Pinnacle Apartments, Virginia. That's not what I want. 31st.
Just look on 31st and see where you're at.
I'm not sure why it's not wanting to work with me. Let's go over here. Pinnacle. Well, I'm not sure why it's not wanting to mess with me. It's at 31st Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's also a lot of, I think I know exactly what he's talking about. I believe it's these right here. It's the apartments right above Buffalo Wild Wings, I believe.
Okay.
I'm nearly 100% positive it's these. If that's the case, let me go back real quick. Let me do that one more time.
Was it above all like the shopping area?
Yeah, I'm nearly 100% certain. So actually, you're going to be right next to where my new office is at, which is right. Let's just pull this up. Street view.
It says it right there. It said Inman HomeServices with the agency.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, go back out.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there you go. So there's our office. This is going to be our new office right here. It's going to be finished built out. I think August 1st or August 2nd is the estimated time to be built out. But this is where it'll be office. Those are very nice apartments. Super nice apartments. It's these right here.
Oh, yeah.
So they have a rooftop terrace. They have a pool. I have a friend actually that lived in those, I think, for 6 months while he had his house being built, and he didn't have anything bad to say about it. So. I don't think that's not a bad place to check out. All right. North End. Yeah. So you also have, this is Bay Colony, and then you have Princess Anne, the country club right here. I have a couple of people that I know that live in this neighborhood. If I can convince my wife to move out of our neighborhood that we're at now, but I don't think it's going to end up happening, I would probably choose here in the next 3 to 5 years to either move here on Bay Colony or somewhere over here in Allenton across from the water. That's where I want to be. So we might just have to wait till the kids graduate high school. So who knows? They just got a lot of good friends in the neighborhood that we're at now. But the North End is one of these locations where it's super coveted. You've got an entrance to First Landing State Park here on the backside. It's quiet. You've got a lot of nature. Just to give you some perspective here, you have Atlantic Avenue and you have kind of the old road and the new road. Most of the locals use Atlantic Avenue with their golf carts and their bikes, e-bikes and regular bikes, and walk their dogs. They go up and down here all the time. And if you're going to be on the west side of Atlantic, probably your average is going to be somewhere between 750-ish to up to 2 or 3 million. But then if you go over Atlantic, then you're looking at probably starting around 1 million, 750 million. And then here on the oceanfront, you're looking at probably 2, 3, or 4 is what you're looking at. There is one right now, I think, listed for like 12 million. I'm going to admit that I think it's extremely overpriced for what it is. But hey, I'm not the listing agent, so it doesn't matter what my opinion is, right? So yeah, the north end is easily the most coveted. I know a couple people that live in here, and they just adore it because every single day they get to walk out their front door and go and put their toes in the sand. It's quiet. It's a very small-ish community. Most people know each other in here. Actually, do you know the Beers at all?
No.
It doesn't matter. Some friends of mine, they just bought a place in here, and they're slowly renovating it, and they love it. They absolutely love it. So those are your kind of 3 main or 4 main here along the main strip. You've got Sandbridge, you've got Croatan, you have the main strip, and then you've got the north end. As we come around into the bay, you've got Fort Story. Now, Fort Story and first landing, you're not going to really touch this unless you're in the military. I've gone camping in there 2 or 3 times because I still have a couple of friends that are active. We've gone camping with them, and we've gone on the beach out there. But unless you have a military ID that allows you to get on base, you're not going to be touching that. But if you go over here to First Landing has a public section here where you can go camping on the First Landing campgrounds. And these are wonderful, man. I think these are highly underrated. The only downside here is they're pretty daggone strict about the firewood thing. They will yell at you hardcore if you start taking dead wood and using that stuff to burn. So you got to bring in some firewood, but you're allowed to have fires. You're allowed to camp out here. There's a lot of live oak trees in here, so you can string up hammocks. I've been camping here.
They're really close together, but they do a good job with all the trees. You just don't even know you're that close to everybody.
Yeah, I just there's lots of little rolling hills in here. I just think it's lovely. I've probably gone camping in here maybe 2 or 3 dozen times. And on major weekends, you want to reserve ahead of time because it will get booked out. But you can also go into the First Landing here and go hiking. But they also have a section here where you can go and park, and they have showers and a visitor center. And it's got AC in here. Like, it's nice. And occasionally they'll have events. You can see they have a little section here where they'll do events and things like that. So this is another section that's absolutely fantastic. If you don't actually live here in Chicks Beach and you need a place to go park and that's relatively affordable and go out to the beach, this is not a bad spot to go. The other benefit I think here is that, well, there's only so many parking spots. So there's only so many people that are going to be here on this beach, which is kind of nice. You go west of this and what most people would call Chicks Beach. So most people, when they're referring to Chicks Beach or the Chesapeake Beach, they're kind of notating this section between the Joint Expeditionary Base on Little Creek and Fort Story. It's basically this section right here, and not including like Bay Island. Some people might say Bay Island is Chicks Beach, but you're really looking at Cape Henry Shores. What's the name of this neighborhood? I forget off the top of my head. I'll think of it here in a second. And in this section over here, and you have a bunch of little sections of neighborhoods. And what you'll find here is that you've got some nicer homes mixed in with some townhomes, mixed in with some smaller homes, larger homes. But there's the house that we are spotlighting for Bouchard Homes that's coming up here shortly is probably, it's right in here. Is an Airbnb that they own, and it's gorgeous, absolutely beautiful inside. And if they sold it today, I'm going to say somewhere between $2.3 to $2.6 million. And it's not on the oceanfront. It's one row off. One of my closest friends, if he could wave a magic wand, would probably move here into the Cape Henry Shores area. And the main reason why is because he wants access to this beach. This is mostly older construction, little bungalows and ranches. And you have the First Landing State Park. There's a trail right here in the middle of the neighborhood that goes directly into the park. Such a cool spot. As you can kind of probably tell if you're zooming out a little bit, the beach is a little obviously wider here in the north end, where it's a little thinner right here. So only so many people can be on those beaches, but it's super, super popular. You will also find here in over the Lesnar Bridge, the entrance and exits. This gets kind of busy and the water can go pretty strong. I was actually in this parking lot the other day because I was waiting to show a house over here, and I was a little bit early, Sean, and they had some of the, I think they call them riverines, the guys that go out and do boat rescue stuff, and they were practicing in the current stuff. It was kind of cool to watch. Any other questions? Have I missed anything?
I was just messaging back. John here was asking about jet noise. So he said he's used to living near San Diego. So I said it's, if you're not used to it, it'll be an adjustment for sure. Especially if he's in that pinnacle area, that's going to be flight path. You're going to hear those all day long. Yeah. But it's, once you get used to it, and I never lived there, but I don't think it's like a evening type thing. I think they're mostly wrapped up around the 7.
Occasionally you'll get some evening flight path stuff that goes on. If you type in a cruise map, and you'll get a map in here. You can even hit images, and what you'll find here, maybe I need to hit Virginia Beach. Yeah, this is a good example of one. So here's Oceana. Obviously, the closer you get to the base, the higher concentration of noise. And on the actual website, it'll allow you to type in the address, and you can see which noise potential zone, or excuse me, accident potential zone and noise zone that it's in. Funny enough, just by the reality of how things work out, let's see, maybe this is a better one. The flight path goes along some of the most popular section of the beach. It goes over Hilltop, which is probably the most prestigious and high-end shopping in the area. It goes over, can I get my second one in there too? Hitting the refill time. Refill, that's right. Orange Crush time. Thank you, sir. Kirkak. But the reality is that it hasn't deterred people from buying in there. Now, what ends up happening is people with a little bit more budget conscious end up purchasing in the north end. So just to kind of, let me zoom out here again. Zoom, and let's orient north-south here. Well, you can see kind of the flight patterns of the base here. This is going to be your highest noise potential zone right here. And so here is Hilltop, and here's the Virginia Beach Oceanfront. Bay Colony is probably one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the area, but it's not keeping people from moving there. Do some people choose to move into Allenton or some of this place of Great Neck, or up here in the north section of like Linwood, because they want to avoid that? Sure, absolutely. Some people do. But Bird Neck Point, the barrier to entry in this neighborhood is like 1.3 million. And it's right here next to the flight path. Hope that answers your question. All right. Some of the other things here, just some of the top beaches, I find that a lot of people in here, all the way from Aragona Village to the northwest section, Windsor Woods, Green, come on, what am I, Green Hill, what is it, Green Run? Green Run, thank you. Green Run, like a lot of people, some of them will go to the Virginia Beach, but a ton of people want to go to Chicks Beach, especially during the peak of summer, because they kind of want to avoid all of the tourism. And so you'll find that a lot of people come in here that are locals, and they love it that way. All right. One of the other things is just to kind of, again, pay attention to is your beach is much thinner here. But my family, we live in Norfolk currently. I would say probably 80% of the time we go to East Beach because it's just much closer for us. And to me, East Beach feels really no different than Chicks Beach. Well, you can kind of see it's right here along the path here. Kind of the nice part of East Beach is because it's so close to the base and they're trying to prevent erosion as much as possible, you'll see that they have these little riprap pieces. And that's kind of been really nice for kids. So if you have young ones, there's a lot of, maybe East Beach doesn't want me saying this, but there's a lot of a decent amount of public parking here in the neighborhood. And because it's not a gated neighborhood, you can go and park in here pretty daggone easily. And this whole section right here of East Beach gets flooded by locals because it's so lovely. If you have little ones and you go out there and you don't have to worry about them getting swept away by big waves, this is fantastic. East Beach is probably one of my favorite neighborhoods. You want to go and look at our drone tours or our tours of East Beach. I adore this neighborhood. The only downside is the lot lines are much smaller than what people are probably accustomed to. This is kind of following some of that new urbanism, Anders Duaney architecture and design plans that are going on. So there's a lot more shared green spaces. And they do a ton of these where they have like little courtyards. And then they have a carriage house, which has the garage down below and then an apartment above. That's super popular in this neighborhood. Barrier to entry into here, some of the smallest house, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 2-bath, $450,000. That's like starting in that neighborhood. But it's gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. They have a farmer's market that meets right here. There are tennis courts. There's a little park. There's weddings that happen in here. They do have a community pool. They have a giant, you can even see it here on the map, chessboard that you can go over here and play chess. This is a great community. I have a couple of clients that live in here. All right. Now, all of Ocean View, I would say, is pretty similar. And then you get a ton of people that are in Norfolk that go to Ocean View. Some of that, what you'll see is that if you're looking for an Airbnb purchase, Ocean View, this kind of section right next to it, the city has kind of deemed as the overlay that allows for you to do Airbnb. Basically, it's almost automatically approved. There's some nuances there. You want to make sure you go to the city website and kind of read through that. But this is one of those sections where it's allowed. All right. And it's a long strip. You've got Willoughby Spit. Some people would say that those are separate, but effectively Ocean View and Willoughby Spit are one long continuous beach. And then again, just to kind of drive the point home here is kind of the benefit of being here in Ocean View or even Chicks Beach is the waves are much smaller. You don't have to worry nearly as much about like fighting wind and waves.
Get to see a little bit of sunset too. That's what I like about it.
Yeah. We've gone out. We've done a couple times where we will actually either order food to like one of these like little houses or like the areas, and we come out and get the food. Some of them will even allow you to order it to the beach, and then we'll eat dinner and watch the sunset, which is kind of cool. All right, that's your main sections here in Norfolk and Virginia Beach. Now you have Buckrow Beach over here in Hampton, but I think I'm gonna stop there and see if there are any other questions.
Yeah, any questions on that? The only other question we had currently in here, John had some kind of market questions, so
yeah,
I'll wait till we get to the.
Well, that's what I was gonna hop into next.
So.
All right, so let me open up. So I like doing this live because there's a book that I had read. It's called Lies, Damn Lies and Statistics. And I think people are always nervous with agents and realtors because they feel like they're just kind of manipulating the data to tell whatever story that they want to tell. And if I do it live with you, it makes it so that you can see behind the curtain here. Let me open it up. And if you have any questions, please feel free to pop in. All right, so I'm going to go over here to this section of our MLS called Domus Analytics. We're going to skip past the nice, pretty page that they put together, and we're going to dive deep a little bit more. So we're going to open in 2 tabs here. First one is looking at weekly trends, so what's going on a week-to-week basis. Did a Danism there. I did pretty good this entire time. Didn't have too many Danisms. Sean is constantly teasing me because many times my brain works faster than my mouth, and I will squish words together or change the word halfway through the sentence, and it just sounds funny. But beauty of live is you get the raw, unfiltered Dan. Okay, so a couple really quick points I want to make. One, data is lovely, and I really like staring at it, learning it, and extrapolating and trying to make some predictions. Some of the things that we do is we like to look back and say, well, if I lived back there, I would have chosen different decisions, and that's nice to think. I don't think as many people paid attention to data as they do today. But when we were looking back at 2004 to 2006, this run up in value was very aggressive, super duper fast. And many people probably didn't understand how quickly that ended up happening. What you can actually see is that this was more aggressive than what we have seen in the last couple of years here. It's not that this hasn't been aggressive, but not as aggressive as here. And a very basic economics 101 would be, and Sean, I'm sorry, you've heard this many times, but I'm going to go through it again, is that it is a reflection of two things, supply and demand. So when we see a run up in value this quickly, your brain should be telling you, hey, either one, inventory tanked because now we have less of the thing that's being bought and in the same amount of people that are looking to buy it. Or we had a bunch of people come into the market looking and inventory stayed the same. And or it could be a combination of those two things. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look, because we can go back and we can actually see how many listings were available for sale during that period of time. Give it a second. That's not the actual numbers here. And what's really interesting is that during that period of time where we see this run up, we almost have a quadrupling of inventory. Now, what your brain should be saying is, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. You just told me inventory would have to go down. Well, this is how stupid lending practices were in this period of time. We had a quadrupling of inventory, and yet prices still went up that much. That's how ridiculous demand was, and how silly it is. Now, if you look at today, this is where inventory is today, where prices are still going up because it's a very different market. Now, some of the doom and gloomers that you'll see on YouTube or other channels is they're focusing on one negativity, because negativity is just easier to get clicks and views on. But I like to look at the data. And what I see here is that inventory has stayed low. One of the things I would say is really interesting to me, at least, is we see, well, every low or trough is correlated with winter, and every high is correlated with summer. It makes total sense. Most people move. It's that seasonality effect. They move during the summer. And so low winter, high summer, low winter, high summer. And you can see that from 2015 to 2019, the market was slowly getting more and more aggressive. Well, what happened in March of 2020? The world shut down. 2 weeks to slow the spread. Well, go figure, when half of the market thinks that the world is ending, the other thinks it's a hoax. Go figure, people don't tend to put their houses on the market, and inventory absolutely tanked. What happened during this period of time is that the Fed lowered rates and made it the cheapest in 2021. It was the cheapest to borrow money that we've had in basically 60 years. I think it was even longer than that. So when you take inventory and you cut it short, like really low, and then you make it cheap to borrow, that's where you see the housing prices go where they've gone. Well, if you notice that low, January, February, March, April, May, January, February, March, April, May, January, February, March, April, May, January, February, March, April, May. Well, look right here. January, February went down. March went up a little bit. April, May, June, right? Inventory is basically flatlined. Some of this has to do with what is some of the people that I follow, they call it the poison, the Fed poison pill. You have so many people that have interest rates that are low that have zero incentive to move. Right. So let's go over here. And when I look at, I can kind of look at the weekly. So this is all of Hampton Roads. But if I look at, let's look at active listings. What's kind of interesting, when you would typically see it go up, this is the same thing, but broken down in week. It's basically flatlined. It hasn't changed. And so one of the things I've seen as a practitioner in the market is that some people are still doing multiple offers. If you have a really nice house, if it's priced properly, if it has all the fixes, and like there was a house recently that one of my agents in my office made an offer on a house. It was listed for 1.1 and it sold for 1.5. Listed for 1.1, sold for 1.5. Why? Because one, they priced it right. They knew it was worth 1.2, 1.3, super easy all day long. But they knew if they priced it low, it would get a ton of attention. The place was immaculate and perfect. And it was the only $1 million listing outside of another one that was currently on the market, and it was in wonderful condition. So what ended up happening is they had like 7 or 8 offers on it. One of those people had been waiting for that particular style of property that in perfect condition. They'd just been sitting on the sidelines. And this happens a lot in this price point. And they were like, nope, I don't want to miss out on this. This is my retirement home. I'm not missing out on this. So for them, it was like, I don't care if I have to overpay for it because they paid in cash. Mm-hmm. And that's what ended up happening. I had another property because the market has changed in some capacity up in Pocosin, listed at 625. We were able to get full closing cost assistance, a home inspection, because it had been sitting for a couple of weeks. Now, when I say sitting for a couple of weeks, what we have to understand is that the average days on market, the median days on market, if you go back and look, there we go. If we go back and look in 2015, the low of that summer was 41. The high during the winter of 2015 was 61. 2 months. So when people are freaking out that something's sitting for 10 days, it's kind of like, let's get a little perspective here. So people's perspectives and paradigms have had to shift a little bit. But when you think that the market is crashing, I go, okay, well, let's look at the price point. Let's look at what's going on. If I go to median days on market right here, I can see that, yeah, it slowly rose as interest rates rose last year, but right around January, when things started heating back up, it dropped and tanked, and we're sitting right now at 10 days on market. Everything that sold last week sold in 10 days. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't have tried to predict that when I'm looking at 7% interest rates, that something that sold within 10 days. Now, are there houses that have sold in the first weekend and then others that sit for 20? Sure. But this is kind of my point, is that this just hasn't shifted nearly as much as that we have anticipated. And I really think that until the inventory problem is solved, the amount of homes that are actively on the market goes up. Things just aren't going to change unless we hit 8, 9, 10, or 10% interest rate, at least here in this market, because real estate is local. It's about the individual market. Do we have any questions that kind of came up? I tend to rant and rave on those things.
No, the only one was John had asked about what do you currently think about the upcoming recession and how that'll affect? So broad sweepingly, I think that if we see large unemployment numbers, that probably will have the largest impact, because it doesn't matter how low your interest rate is. If you can't make your mortgage payment, you can't hold on to it. Now, do people have more equity in their homes than they've had in a really long time? Yeah. Like, let's go back over here and look at this median sales price. If you bought in, say, 2020 or 2021, you've seen a massive increase in your value. So foreclosures don't tend to happen overnight, and banks are pretty inclined to work with you as much as they possibly can. So unless you just completely ignore all of those phone calls and don't try to get the repayment plan or restructure the loan or whatever, you're typically in a position, even if you did a VA 100% financing, that you could probably sell your home, make a little bit of money, even if it was a short sale. So I don't see it, unless there's just major unemployment and masses of homes are having to sell at below market value. I just don't see a huge correction coming. That's my opinion. And these things tend to be slow. The other thing just to think about is this correction from 2007. You can see the market started slowing down right around in 2006. It peaked out in 2007. It took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nearly 5 years for it to bottom out and start coming back. This is mostly bad loans that caused this, along with a run up in value in people who are buying homes that shouldn't have been happening. That if you look at the data, so ATTOM or Black Knight Incorporated both have really good data around mortgages and the quality of those mortgages and that type of thing. Again, people are looking at data way more today, I think, than they were back here. It's unlikely for that to happen. And you will start to see the indicators really early. So like I would encourage you to go look at that and look at like, what's the active forbearance rates that are going on right now? They're still low. If you look at foreclosure rates, they're still low, at least in our area. It's unlikely that's going to happen, in my opinion. I think what we're going to see is kind of a law of diminishing returns curve, right? For every increment it's going to go down, is that we're going to see, I think housing affordability conversations and frustrations are going to continue to be the norm. People are like, I don't understand how people are affording it. I don't understand how people are affording it. And just that bottom section is slowly going to get priced out, and it's going to take a decade for people to get caught up to it.
If the federal government comes in and does something like, hey, 40-year loan products are now available, or here's a $50,000 first-time home buyer grant, that doesn't really solve the problem. All you're doing is increasing demand. So I think that they need to spend all of their time and energy on increasing the supply, because I think that's the problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah.
Cool. We can end there. I don't think we need to go. I mean, I could keep going, but I think most people are gonna be like, this is boring.
You're never boring.
I think this stuff is really fascinating because these are the hidden factors that drive the economy. These are once you start kind of making sense of this. And again, we're only looking at our marketplace. If you go to Tampa, if you go to Palm Springs, if you go wherever, every marketplace is a little bit different. But this is our market. This is what's going on right now here in our market.
Yeah. All right. No more
Cool.
questions here. So
yeah. So hope that was super helpful.
tease for next week. What are we doing next week?
Well, my broker. So for those who
market, if you like to market it.
Yeah, we're gonna go really in depth on the market next week, or 2 weeks from now. My broker, Alan Thompson, who is the representative of the agency here, local agency, is opened up a brokerage here in Hampton Roads in the coastal Virginia area, and that's who I've joined. And Alan is probably, in my opinion, he's the GOAT when it comes to this area. The guy has an incredible amount of knowledge. He's been in the business for a very long time. He was the number one agent in our area for a number of years. His wife was number one agent in Hampton Roads last year. They really are just some super high performers. And so I'm really honored and to be on board with them. So we're going to kind of dive deep into this and we're going to discuss a little bit. And I'm hoping to learn a few things from him.
Cool. All right. See you guys next week.
Cheers. See you guys.